pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Well, as you can see, the mayor's not here tonight, so we're going to make a very small change. I'm going to move item number C2, which is the ordinance 2024-07, which basically referred to as a noise ordinance up to right now. And the reason will become obvious in just a minute. Oh, you guys ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. As we said, the mayor's, today's the second hearing on 2024-07. As opposed to discussion, I'd like to see if we can get a motion to continue to July 10th at 6 p.m. this ordinance. That way we can have all 5 of us present and everybody gets a voice. Would anybody like to make a motion?
I will move to continue until July 10
At 6 p.m.
at 6 p.m.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion among the council.
What's the reason? We've got input from the mayor that went through and came in.
Go ahead, Paul.
Is there a particular?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor?
Whoever.
There's a delay on the video.
Mayor.
He hears you.
Okay.
Before you take up this motion, you're going to need to open the public hearing.
Okay. So,
Council.
I'm sorry? Yeah, so comments from the council?
Public hearing.
Okay.
And then you can take a motion to go ahead and continue the discussion until, I think it's July 10th at 6 o'clock at night.
I believe that's what we just did.
And then you can take a motion to go ahead and continue the discussion.
Can you,
I think it's July 10th at 6 o'clock at night. I believe that's what we just did.
okay, so, I'm sorry?
Can we mute him?
Yeah,
Yeah, because
It's
it's,
getting
a
confusing.
feedback
Hear
loop.
it
It's a
very
feedback loop.
Lauren, you had a comment, please?
Yeah, I'm trying to understand why we're moving it off the table. I know that you want 5, but we've got input and we've had the mayor's input through the town clerk.
I've only seen a short blip from the mayor. I've not talked to him. I'm not sure no one else has. I think it's best if we have all 5, then everybody gets a chance to speak, the public gets a chance to be heard. Just cleaner that way.
Do you think that they're not, I've received at least 11 emails. I think that you were copied on most of those too. So we've gotten a lot of public input.
True.
Is there some particular group or person you're feeling is not being heard?
I want to make
An
sure,
additional month.
I do want to make sure the mayor's heard. Brett?
Yeah, and additionally, I would like it if Mr. Googleman was here in person. We can tell that we're already having issues with proper communication right now, and legal questions come up that we defer to his input and opinion. I would just be more comfortable if, in addition to the mayor, Mr. Googleman was here for a full comprehensive discussion on the matter.
Okay, is there any public comment on continuing ordinance 2024-07, second reading to next month, July 10th, 6 p.m.? Any public comment, please?
Yes.
Your name and address,
Emery
please.
Rally, 501 North Miramar. And I would like to have this adjourned to next month. I just got a little late notice of it. And I think it's a very complicated issue and matter.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Please.
I'm Jim Seaton. I live at 601 North Miramar. I'm a resident here, but I was up in Michigan, and I flew down for this meeting because this noise ordinance is very, very important. It deserves attention, so I'll make some more plane reservations and stuff, but can I use this time to go ahead and make some comments?
No. No, it's strictly about the motion.
Okay. So
I don't mean to be disrespectful, it's just
that's fine. I
just procedural.
understand.
Anyone else, please? Okay, council, what is your pleasure?
Calling for a vote?
Time for a vote, yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm also in favor. Passes unanimously. We will postpone, or, to continue to July 10th, 2024, meeting starting at 6 p.m. Thank you. Now, to the regular agenda. First up on the, well, Mike just walked out. There is one change to the agenda, and that is Town Hall will be closed on July 4th. Presentations, Christine, please.
Good evening. My name is Christine Olran. I'm the audit partner at Carrigs & Ingram that oversaw your external financial statement audit. So you all have in front of you the financial statements. This is as of the year ending September 30th, 2023. So I'm just going to go through some highlights instead of walking you through all of this page by page, since you have other things to get to at this meeting. So your general fund, your fund balance increased $1.2 million. So a lot of this was you had an increase in your taxes. So due to property values rising, you had an extra $330,000 more in property taxes this year, and you also had $84,000 more in electric utility taxes. Your permits were down about $65,000 this year because you had some waivers for some time for hurricane damage repairs. Your intergovernmental revenue increased, so local option gas tax, half-cent sales tax, you don't set those rates, but you get the money from the state. Those increased about $49,000 this year. Your expenditures were up $300,000 this year. Most of that was due to raises and benefits for employees. And then your unassigned fund balance, you are now at about 6 months worth of your expenditures in unassigned fund balance. So the Government Finance Officer Association recommends having at least 3 months, and you're up to 6 now. I know when Michael started, you had less than 2, so great job in increasing that fund balance. 3 is the minimum you want to have. Hurricane comes through, FEMA's going to take at least a year, if not 2, to repay you. You'll get the money back, but it takes a while. So having those reserves increase is excellent. Your debt service fund, if you look at that, basically you brought in enough money to help pay for the debt payments that you're required to pay. And then in your parks fund, you did have an increase, so basically a net income of $216,000 this year. That was due to increasing in your rates for your permits and your meters. So you had $40,000 more in meters and permit fees, and then another $25,000 more in parking fines compared to last year. So we didn't have any written findings. So the one that we had last year was cleared. So good job to Jennifer. This was her first trying to close out by herself because your consultant that you had, we're no longer with him, and you're doing it all yourself in your new software. So there was one adjustment that we had, and it's not really Jennifer's fault. That's why there's no finding. Your actuary for your pensions gives you a full funding report, and then there's a separate supplement. And so what she adjusted the pension fund trial balance to was the full one, and for some reason the balance sheet and income statement he had in the supplement was not the same because he did it on 2 different methods. I have not seen that before. So then we adjusted it to match the supplement because that's where your net pension liability is derived from.
Is that for the police and fire or for the general employees?
That was for police and fire. So he was showing a prepaid in the funding one, and then he wasn't showing a prepaid in the supplement.
Is that the adjusting journal entry on page 104?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And then we also passed, it's not in your electronic packet, but we had brought this last year. So this is the financial indicators that the state has us fill out. And so your overall rating is inconclusive. That's normal. That's like 90% of the time you end up as inconclusive. Half of these indicators, if one's going up, the other one's going down. So it's really hard to get them all going in the same direction. And you only had 2 in here that were unfavorable indicators. One is just for, it's 6P, so it relates to your park funds, and it just is your payables over your expenditures were higher, and really that was just timing, because when the expenses were paid at the end of the year, there was a larger payable from the Parks Fund to the general fund, and so that it increased your current liabilities. So it was really just a timing thing. And the other one was your debt service payments compared to your total expenditures were higher. Your debt payments haven't changed, so it's really just your other expenditures went down in comparison. So figure when you got the debt, you were doing the construction, and you're not doing the construction anymore. So they're not really things that are bad, it's just on the trend, in those it looks bad. So you always kind of have to look at it and then know what's happening in the town to know if it's really bad or not. If that makes sense.
Council, questions? Lauren, you must have a question, I'm sure.
Yes, please. Thank you, first of all, and thanks for going through it so thoroughly. I want to reiterate, I want to make sure I understand. There are no findings for this year that you're concerned about,
No,
and the one finding from last year has been cleared.
correct.
Okay, so that's a good bill of health.
That's good, yes.
Okay, good. And it's good because as we're sending this out and recording it now, folks can hear about the financial health of what's going on. You mentioned the comparison, this is the comparison to the peer cities, right? And
Yes.
inconclusive is okay.
Yes, that's
Which
normal.
we had that, and you explained the two unfavorable. Overall, are we doing well compared to our peer cities? I know there's a lot of data here, but how would you summarize it for the layperson?
I would say you're financially sound, so you're not at risk. You're not, a company where you're trying to make money and be profitable, but you're not on the brink of bankruptcy. You're not going to see anything like we've seen some cities in California and Michigan, like you're fine. You're not going to go belly up and people are, oh no, I don't have services.
Great, because this is used also by the state to make sure that if there are indicators in the wrong way for long enough, it's an issue, and you're saying we're just fine with our financial stewards.
Yeah, if this came up to an overall rating of unfavorable, in our second to last letter in the report, we actually have to put in there that you're showing up as a financial condition emergency or a deteriorating condition, and then the state calls you up and they want to have monthly phone calls and want to know how to make it better. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, good. I'm glad we're not there.
Yeah.
The adjustment you had in page 104, in layperson's terms, did money move or explain what? Because some people could say, wait, an adjustment was made. Can you just sort of lay that out in simple terms?
Sure.
Why it was made, so someone listening says, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so it's for your pension plan, so all that money is sitting in a trust, so no one here, even at the city, has access to it. So that money that's in the trust, at the end of the year, Jennifer's truing up the trial balance to match all the activity that's in there, because, again, that's run by the different pension boards. She doesn't have access to all of that stuff, so she's using the actuary report to true it up. And their main report was based on how they're determining funding, which is done on a different method than how they were determining the net pension liability. So it's kind of like if you were looking at financials at one's in cash basis and one's in accrual basis, they're not going to be the same. So there was two different methods for his reports.
Okay,
Yeah.
good, thanks. And this one may be a little odd, but I want to make sure that I remind myself and people know, if there were foul play or poor choices made financially, how valuable is what you're doing to detect that and identify that to keep us honest, transparent, and accountable?
Right, so I'm not going to obviously find every little thing because I don't test every single transaction. We'd be here year-round. But we check all of your systems and your processes and your control. So like that's why we had the one finding last year and it's been rectified and cleared. We went through it probably more thoroughly this year with the changeover in the software of, okay, there were things that your consultant used to do and now Jennifer's doing them. So is Michael reviewing that now to make sure there's all those proper segregation of duties. So for the number of staff that you have, you're as segregated as you can be without hiring a bunch more people.
Okay, good. So you're not only reviewing the dollars, you're reviewing internal controls.
Correct.
The procedures and that's listed in here and will be in the minutes for, well, certainly this packet, and it'll be reiterated so anyone could be looking at that level of detail. Mm-hmm. If someone had a question, would they ask us? Would they ask Mike? Could a citizen come to you and say, hey, I'm not sure about this? How do
Typically, they
questions
would go
flow?
to you or to Mike, and then they'd call and ask me if they didn't know the answer to it. So I'm not in the day-to-day. If it's specific of like what happened with this transaction, I'm not going to know that better than Jennifer and Michael.
Yeah, I meant more as the audit overall,
Overall.
is if there's something that they had a question on the materials you've provided.
I mean, they could, I would say first call them because they might know the answer,
Yep.
and then they can come to me if they need something clarified.
Good. Was it a little easier this year with the BSA and the way that because I know the town has positioned itself to try to improve and, you know, use better systems, in-house usage, a little
Yeah.
more control. Was it easier? Was it harder?
Will be easier. So the first 3 months, we're still in the old software, and then the other 9 months are in the new software. BSNA didn't pull the stuff over, so everything had 2 reports. But in terms of like now that it's in there and it's up there, Jennifer can make sure, okay, all the equity is rolling forward. Whereas Dennis would sometimes make adjustments as he saw fit.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah,
Christine, this is as of September
30th,
30th
yes,
of 2023.
30.
Okay, so we're roughly running about 9 months behind just because of the normal process and the fiscal versus calendar years.
Yep.
Have you seen anything that might indicate that going forward there'd be a significant change?
No, I mean, as far as I know, they haven't made any changes in their processes since year end. And I'm not aware of any subsequent events that would have caused any major issues. And the reason it takes so long, honestly, is because you're waiting for your OPEB actual report, and it didn't come till May. You needed that number.
Very good.
Yep.
Any public comments? None being heard. Council, do I have a motion to accept the audit report as presented?
I'll move to accept the audit as presented.
Is there a second, please?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, Mr. Strand makes a motion, Mr. Wright seconds. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next, I don't see Angela.
Oh, I was looking around, I didn't see her.
I don't see Angela, so we're going to just circle that one in case she does make it. So, next presentation is Chief. Thank you very much.
Good evening, and thank you for giving me a couple minutes of time. I want to highlight a couple of things that are going on with some of our employees. First of all, if I can have Victoria Emery come up. Victoria is our new full-time communications officer. She's currently in training. She actually started with us in last month as a part-time dispatcher. She couldn't come to us full-time because she had commitments with her church, and she was doing things with them. Some of you that have been around for a little bit might recognize Victoria. She actually came one time and gave council a presentation on bleeding disorders. She is a member of the Bleeding Disorder Leadership Society. She's also been a guest speaker at many conventions. She's part of the Bleeding Disorder Coalitions of Florida, Florida Hemophilia Association. But more importantly, her dad, Donald Emery, was one of my full-time dispatchers from 2017 to 2020. And unfortunately, he passed away very unexpectedly after a complication that he had from a medical procedure. Victoria was 15 years and 10 months, she corrected me, at the time. And ever since then, she's been bugging me to come to work for us. So at the time, we just didn't have any openings, or she wasn't old enough, but the stars have aligned. We're very happy to have her here and welcome her. She's always been kind of a family member anyway. She used to come and visit her dad a lot. All the officers knew her, and she gets along very, very well. So we're happy to have her continue in her dad's footsteps. Her dad was a lifelong civil servant. He was a firefighter, EMT, dispatcher, and stuff like that. So she's picking up where he left off. And again, we're very happy to have her, very proud to have her here. So this is Victoria Emery. Okay,
Welcome.
go back to work. And second, I would like, a little bit of this might be redundant, but I'd like to give out 2 awards for an incident that we had last month. If I could have Corporal Booth and Senior Communications Officer Amanda Constant come up. Firstly, I'd like to read a letter of commendation for Corporal Booth, and then I'll read a letter for Amanda. On Friday, May 10th, 2024, at 2:13 in the afternoon, the Indialantic Police Department received a 911 call in reference to an unresponsive 72-year-old male laying on the ground next to a vehicle in the Indialantic Shopping Center. Corporal Justin Booth responded to this medical call with emergency lights and siren activated and arrived prior to fire rescue. Corporal Booth quickly assessed the situation, located the male laying partially under the door of a vehicle, and moved to an area where he could assess the patient's vital signs. The male was unresponsive, was not breathing, and had no pulse. Corporal Booth retrieved his department-issued automated external defibrillator and proceeded to perform cardiopulmonary resuscitation. Corporal Booth began chest compressions and continued CPR as the lone first responder on scene for over 2 minutes before Indialantic Fire Rescue and Brevard County Fire Rescue arrived on scene to take over emergency medical intervention efforts. Once the patient's care was turned over to Fire Rescue, Corporal Booth immediately transitioned into investigation mode. He was questioning several witnesses on scene, obtaining their information. The subject regained a pulse and was transported to Holmes Regional Medical Center in Melbourne for further treatment. 3 days later, the subject's wife called the police department to express her gratitude to the officers and medical personnel who attended to her husband that day. She advised that her husband was alive and is expected to make a significant recovery after having a massive heart attack. She met with Corporal Booth the following day here at the police department, or the following week rather, at the police department to thank him in person. It is reasonable to assume that without Corporal Booth's quick action, recognition of the severity of the medical emergency, and application of effective CPR, this patient would not have survived. Therefore, it is with pride that I award Corporal Booth this letter of commendation and a life-saving chest ribbon. For the same incident, I'd like to recognize Senior Communications Officer Amanda Constant. I'm going to refer to her as SCO Constant because that's just a big title. So on Friday, May 10th at 2:13 in the afternoon, Senior Communications Officer Amanda Constant received a 911 call in reference to an unresponsive 72-year-old male laying on the ground next to a vehicle in the Indialantic Shopping Center. SCO Constant ascertained further information from the 911 caller to include the exact location and updated status of the male. SCO Constant radioed all pertinent information to responding officers in the Indialantic Fire Department while gathering further information that was being given to the Brevard County Fire Rescue. After dispatching the call to patrol officers and fire rescue, SCO Constant continued to monitor and transmit to multiple radio channels that were giving critical real-time information. It was determined by units on scene that the subject was not breathing, had no pulse, and CPR efforts had begun. After several minutes of continuous CPR, the subject regained a pulse and was transported to Holmes Regional Medical Center in Melbourne for further treatment. The patient's wife called the police department to express gratitude to those who assisted her husband. She advised that her husband was alive and expected to make a significant recovery after suffering a heart attack. SCO Constant had a definite impact in giving the patient a chance for survival with her quick action and ability to effectively dispatch resources to the scene in a clear, concise, and timely manner. These are attributes we've come to expect from SCO Constant, as she is a consummate professional and an outstanding police and fire telecommunicator. It's with pride that I award SCO Amanda Constant this letter of appreciation for her actions during the medical call of May 10th, 2024. Congratulations.
Thank you. Dina.
Good evening. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And good evening, distinguished members of council.
Hey, Tess, name and address.
Dina Ryder-Hicks. I am the Government Affairs Manager for WM. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you here this evening. Tonight is an informative presentation regarding WM Harris Sanitation's annual rate adjustment to reflect changes in the cost of doing business. The Consumer Price Index for water, sewer, and trash is the mechanism that is used per our solid waste franchise agreement that WM Harris Sanitation holds with the town to determine that annual rate adjustment. as specified in the franchise agreement. This year, the annual adjustment is 5.31%, and this metric is developed by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, and this is not a WM or town-generated metric. Again, this is developed by the U.S. BLS. And the CPI, water, sewer, and trash has been a consistent data point through the years. It's been relatively even-keeled. This year, 5.31%, consistent with where we were last year. Last year was 5.41%, so a little bit better this year. And this adjustment, again, as specified in the solid waste franchise agreement, will be effective on October 1st, 2024. And with that, thank you.
Questions?
Just one point for clarification. I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but to be, for the record, the adjustment is in accordance with the existing contract between the town of Indialantic and
Yes,
Harris
yes.
Sanitation, yes. Got it.
Hi, Dina. While you're here, one of the things that we appreciate is the stats that you gave at the end of the year that we were able to publish. Continue to help with the pickups as you do. A lot of it, people are finding it easier to do it through the website, and I know this isn't the main thing, but while
No,
we
that's
have
great.
you lovely here in person, is being able to, I hope that we'll get our site linked with Mike. I know he's working on that, so we can get residents for pickups, because I think the number one thing I hear related to stuff is yard waste pickups, and I know piles are stuff. So thank you for working on that. Keep working on that, because I know convenience and regularity of pickups is very appreciated.
Absolutely, and thank you, Councilmember Strand, for bringing that up. And to your point, now is the time to do all of that yard waste trimming, and we really appreciate the residents doing that. Doing it now, before we have an announced storm, is absolutely critical. So trimming any trees or landscaping now, before we have that, into that high season when the storms are really ramping up, is certainly very valuable. So thank you for bringing that up.
Councilman Strand, I do already have the link up there to go to their website and things to make reports, so that was done like the week after the last meeting. And I think, Dina, you told me that you guys are working on an app too to make it easy to report, correct?
We are. We have the WM Now app as well that residents can download on their mobile device, and it works very similarly to our actual website. So you can download the My WM app and schedule through there. But to Mr. Casey's point, we are working on additional functionality for that website as well, so that residents have the ability to do more on that platform.
Great. I'm glad it's there. Thank you very much, Mike.
No problem.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the update to the contract with Harris Sanitation.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion. Brett, anything?
Just curious when our term ends on this contract.
The 5-year.
I'm going to have to do some math here. Yes,
Yeah.
2026.
Yeah, say 2021 was the,
Yes.
So we would expect a similar discussion in a year's time?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's tied.
Assuming inflation continues to go up.
I believe we got a choice when the contract was negotiated to tie it to a certain index, correct? And we're actually sort of winning ahead because this index isn't growing as much as the others. Is that correct, or is that something changed since we last visited?
no, that's what happened. The contract we had before them did not have any CPI. That's why we had a big increase in jump, because there was no built-in CPI for the years of the contract. So to keep things level and not have those jumps every 5 years or so, we're just seeing 30 to 40% is kind of keeping even.
Okay, public, any comments, please? Nothing heard? Council, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And it is unanimous, passes unanimously. Thank you very much, Dina.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is public comments on non-agenda items. Persons wishing to address the town council on matters not listed on the agenda may speak at this time. Speakers must provide their name, address, and observe the 3-minute time limit. and speak only when recognized. Mr. Sedone.
Well, I'm sorry, Jim Seaton, 601 North Miramar. Obviously, I came to try to address the agenda item on the noise ordinance, and I think you've got a lot of feedback, so you know for my neighborhood, this is a big issue. But instead of trying to tell you what we were going to tell you, and now that we have some time, one of the things I'd like to encourage the council to do, and Mr. Googleman, is to step back and think about integrating the entire Brevard County noise ordinance instead of just this plainly audible section. I think there's lots of advantages to that. If you don't, you're going to have one set of standards with a noise meter that says you can make all the noise you want until 10 o'clock. You got another section with the plainly audible. If you read the Brevard County standard, that new ordinance, it's got a section on using a sound meter, and it says this much during the day and this much at night. So it's nicely integrated with the plainly audible thing and flows much better together. And I think that there are other things in the current standard that are a little confusing. I mean, one of them is you can't broadcast amplified music onto the streets, but if you had a 100-person band and they're not amplified, it's drums and stuff, you make all the noise you want according to that part of the standard. The Brevard County standard basically treats noise as noise. They don't care if it's amplified, they don't care what the source is. If it's this loud, it's a problem, and they give you two different ways to do it. So now that we have a little time, I see advantages to you postponing this and stuff, but I urge you to step back, take a closer look at the entire Brevard ordinance and see if that's not something that you should incorporate with a few modifications into the new town ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Anyone else? Going. 3 minutes. Come to the mic, please. And your name and address, sir.
Steve Ryder, 601 North Miramar Avenue. Miramar Avenue, number 103, Indialantic, Florida, 32903. Anything else? Okay.
You're good to get going.
Good to go.
I just wanted to come up with the noise. You guys have heard that a lot. My condo is right on A1A, which a ton of traffic, we all know that, and it's very noisy. I have a hard time when we go out on our porch talking because of the traffic on A1A. I bought it that way, I understand. The thing that has come into view, though, with down the street, now that they're putting the big poles in and everything, I don't worry so much about, but between 8 and 9 o'clock, there seems to be a lot of noise. But now we've asked about that, and I realize there's only one policeman, like, at night for Indialantic. Maybe not, close. But between 8 and 9 o'clock, this sounds like, I was a kid, it sounds like Dragway 44. I mean, these guys are pulling out in these big trucks and cars. I hear them come through here. And that's not too awful bad. I've heard that all my life. But up there where I see these kids running across the street up by the BB, and I think, good grief, it's 8, 9 o'clock at night. Hopefully we get that slowed down because they're supposed to put another walkway up by Public. So hopefully that'll slow some of that down between 192 and Public. Because, man, they come about 8, 9 o'clock. I don't know what it is. Everybody goes home or they get in their car and they fly. And I want to congratulate the police department because I've lived here for 12 years. And about 2 weeks ago, I saw a policeman give a person a ticket for having their dog in the ocean. I think that's the first time. So thank you. Finally, after 12 years, somebody got it for that. And one other quick thing, and it's not a slam, but just for you guys to think about. With the food up at I look right at where they bring the food out at the restaurant, which is okay. They got the restaurant there with the food. But I've always wondered how the health department gets, the food comes out that door, It's got to go 10 or 15 yards to the front. Now, if it's raining or something, you know, you're going to get your prime rib with raindrops on it. There's no way there's no shelter to bring the food all the way to the back. I wondered how they get away with that with the health department. I don't know if that concerns anybody here, but I'm good.
Well, thank you very much. Anyone else? Please, Carrie?
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I don't need 3 minutes, I need one. Carrie Foy, 235 Wayne Avenue. I think we should take this next 30 days to think about the direction that we want to take in this town. We are not a loud town. We don't have a problem with noise. Our sidewalks button up between 9 and 10 o'clock at night. We have lauded this new boutique beach with the tiki bar that we have, and I think we're giving way too much attention to a minute population of this town that frankly doesn't even live here all year long. So I agree that we should take this time to think about the direction. Our mayor has a big idea right now for expanding our boardwalk to make it more tourist, family-oriented. And if we start messing with noise and making big decisions that affect our town, what do you think is going to happen? So I would just ask you all to think about it, because I think right now we're in a position to where we're getting ready to poke the bear. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, last call. Oh, please.
Carla Roediger, 601 North Miramar. So I am a year-round resident, and a lot of people here are year-round, so I don't know where that's coming from. And also, if the mayor wants to expand the boardwalk for family, having a tiki bar does not really help that cause. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, public announcements. There are openings on the following boards and committees. Flip the page. Budget and Finance, Civil Service, Code Enforcement, Heritage Committee, Parks and Recreation Beautification Committee, Pension Board, General Employees. Candidate qualifying packets for the 2024 municipal elections are available at Town Hall. The qualifying period begins at noon, August 8th, and ends at noon, August 15th. Please contact the town clerk for more information. Consent agenda. I would like to pull items 4 and 5. So do I have a motion to approve 1 through 3 of the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda items 1, 2, and 3, holding 4 and 5 for discussion.
I'll second.
In favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Okay, item 4. Officer Parrish, would you come up and tell us a little bit about the special event for school supply and back-to-school party?
So I'm Officer Parrish in the Indialantic Police Department. As many of you know, I have done a school supply drive for the past 3 years now. This will be the 4th year in a row. I came up with the idea, as long as you guys approve this, of holding a special event in town. I've heard a lot of residents in town have wanted to bring back a block party-ish type thing where we're gathering so people that live in town can get together. It's kind of been tabled. COVID kind of put that on the back burner for a while. I would like to bring that to everybody's attention now. And what I would like to do is have this party coincide with the school supply drive that I do every year. That way we can get everybody in town, have a good time, and they can bring school supplies to benefit Indialantic and Hoover Middle School. And I would also like to include the church in this also. I've already secured a bounce house through a donation from Bizarros. I've already made it clear to them that there will not be a pizza truck at this event.
Noted in the application.
Yeah, they are very happy about that. We are looking to have a few food trucks there. I have commitments from a barbecue truck. Jen's risotto truck will be there. She's already told me they would be there. And I'm also looking at getting the shaved ice. And I've spoke to the owner of Lily's Mediterranean restaurant on Wavecrest there. Mm-hmm. He also has a food truck and would love to bring it out there for everybody to enjoy. I'm trying to get a movie in the park. There is some costs associated with that. I do have 2 residents in town that are willing to donate money to cover those costs. So moving forward, as long as we get approvals for everything, then we will reach out to them and let them know that we have approval and we'll be seeking to try to get a movie. I have looked at a website that has been brought to my attention that you pay for the movie rights, and I guess they send it to you in a link, or I'm not sure how they do it. It's either a hard copy or a link. I'll have to look more into that. Also looking to waive the alcohol ordinance in the park. Would like to have access to Nance Park between 3 p.m. and 10:30 p.m., waiving the parking at that time. And the bounce or the dunk tank, I've decided not to go that route because I don't want to be in it, and I'm sure nobody else wants to be in it.
I was going to nominate the mayor
either.
and the deputy mayor.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, I've decided to scratch that. So if there's any questions, then
Alcohol?
yeah, I did waive the alcohol. Yeah.
You didn't say that's why.
I thought you did.
Yeah, I
It's
did.
on the
Yeah,
application.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I've spoke with Al with Long Doggers. I'm sure everybody knows who that is. He is willing to donate. I spoke with him today, and he said 4 kegs of beer, along with water and Gatorade for the kids. So
Not the kegs?
not the kids.
Just to be clear for the record.
Yeah. So, and what he's going to do is he's going to ask for donations, be it school supplies or money, so that school supplies can be purchased. So hopefully with council approval, we can move forward with this and have a good event, have a good turnout.
Can I add something real quick? This is something that Jason's actually started working on with Ann Burnick, who is a longtime resident. This is something they thought up many years ago. And as you know, Mrs. Burnick passed away last year. But so this is something that he's wanted 2 years ago now. Yeah, thank you. So this is something that he's been talking about for quite a while, trying to get this going and maybe keep it an annual event for a good cause.
Yeah, just to keep her memory going, and like Chief said, that we had actually discussed it, I think a week before she left to go to DC. So unfortunately, we know what happened there. So I would like to do this and kind of in her memory also. So that's it. Any questions?
Just quickly, I remember the first year you did it was cram the car, and you were a little surprised by the number of cars that got crammed.
Yeah, that was a big turnout. Yeah, that was a good turnout. The year after that wasn't too bad. Last year's wasn't too bad either. We took about 2 or 3 carloads over there to them. So I'm hoping this year we have everybody in the one location, and we'll fill up a bunch of police cars.
Excellent. Thank you very much for doing it.
Yes.
Okay, I'll make the motion that we approve item number 4 on the consent agenda. Is there a second?
I will second, and I thank you, officer, for your efforts on this.
Any public comments?
The date's going to be July 26th, it's a Friday evening, so I would say anywhere between 6 to 10 o'clock at night. It's an opportunity for people getting off on a Friday to unwind, get to know people in the town that they may not have met before, and the new ones in town, new residents in town. So I think it'd be a perfect opportunity for that. And then they can also see what we're trying to do with the school supplies.
Deputy Mayor, may I ask one other question?
Please.
Can you, because we're recording this, Officer Parrish, could you reiterate what school supplies you'd like, what is desired, and where they go, so that people watching who put this in the back of their mind and make this a success can say, I heard it here from him?
So actually, the principal at Hoover has reached out to me with a request for planners. I guess they're going to a digital planner this year, the school board is. And a lot of kids are resistant to that. They like having the planners in front of them to write it down. So she actually reached out to me and requested planners. The elementary school, they're good with whatever we give them, crayons, markers, it doesn't matter to them. I think they still have stuff left over from years before. We've actually, it's been a good turnout the past couple of years for them, so. But yeah, that's basically what they're requesting. That's the only request I've gotten from the principals for this year.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, we need a vote. A vote to approve. Is there a vote to approve? Favor?
Aye.
Thanks. Passes unanimously.
July 26th.
Thanks, Brett.
Yeah.
Okay, item number 5 is just a procedural one, and that's the designation of a voting delegate for the 2024 Florida League of Cities Conference. I will nominate Lauren Strand to be that delegate. Do I have a second? In favor or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Passes unanimously again. Okay, ordinances. Mike, do you want to read the?
I was gonna say, I'll read it.
By title?
So, ordinance number 2024-06, an ordinance of the Town of Indialantic, Brevard County, Florida, relating to land development regulations and signage making findings, amending section 113-301, Town Code of Ordinances relating to definitions, amending section 113-303, Town Code of Ordinance relating to prohibited signs, providing additional regulations as the type of signage prohibited within the town, prohibiting the erection and maintenance of off-premises commercial signage, amending section 113-305, Town Code of Ordinances relating to the type, sign, and location and duration of erection of signs permitted within each of the town zoning districts, amending section 113-306, Town Code of Ordinance relating to signage that is non-conforming to sign code regulations, revising standards, providing for removal of signage upon discontinuance as opposed to abandonment, creating sections 113-307 Town Code of Ordinances, setting forth special regulations and standards regarding changeable copy signs, electronic, non-changeable copy signs, and government signs, providing for severability, interpretation, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve. I don't have the ordinance in front of me, I apologize.
2024-06.
Ordinance 2024-06.
I'll second.
Discussion.
Just for purposes of clarification, this is bringing us up to date with the state wording with, oh, sorry, I'm ahead of myself, wrong ordinance.
Yeah, wrong ordinance.
Still getting used to the time zone.
Let's have electronic signs.
Yeah, electronic signs. So this is clarifying and providing a little more ironclad definition of changeable, both in terms of electronic as well as fixed.
Correct.
Making allowances for electronic signs in the store window, but such that they're static, effectively, like an
Correct.
open for business sign.
It also, because for emergency purposes, like the message boards that are out there, you know, detour ahead and things, we didn't, however, that allows that,
Right,
that
so
type
it
of.
clarifies that those are
Yeah.
permitted use for government and emergency.
Just clean up the language that came to light with our sign issue.
And it's consistent, I mean, the wording and the details of which are consistent with existing ordinances for changeable signboards,
Correct.
consistent with case law, established case law.
Anyone else?
I have a Paul question. Can Paul
Okay, hold
hear
on.
us?
You can't just
Hey,
delay.
Paul, got a question I'm gonna put you on, you can mute on the other end. Okay.
All right, Paul, let's make sure we can hear this one. First of all, thank you. I was in the ZMP meeting, so I'm very familiar with most of it. All right, he's going to give you right over here to me. I know this is related to changeable copy, and you define it very, very clearly. What about a bright LED sign in the business district that does not change? In other words, it's an illuminated sign. The copy is not being changed over 180 days, but aesthetically, it's a bright LED illuminated sign. Is that covered under this or not?
Just hold up to the microphone if you would, Lauren.
It's a delay.
Yeah.
Not covered.
Okay, thank you.
I have one question for Paul also.
I can tell you that if the council is interested in seeing that issue addressed, we can There'll be another sign ordinance that'll be coming to you soon. We can take it up then.
Thank you, because this one did discuss the aesthetics, which was nice in it, and talked about the character of the town, and had some intent to enforce that so we don't have the big bright neon-y LED signs. So great, so that'll be another ordinance. Thank you.
I'm waiting for the internet delay. Paul, does this in any way affect our temporary sign ordinance or sections of the ordinance?
When you say temporary signs, are you talking about like political signs or real estate signs?
Yes, and also the ones that were covered with the town of Gilbert, 2015, I believe.
When you say temporary signs, are you talking about like political signs or real estate signs? Yes, and also the ones that are covered. Yeah, this ordinance does not cover that, and that's why I'm saying that there will be another ordinance for a revision of other parts of the sign code that'll be coming to you in the future.
Thank you very much. Oops. Lauren has one more question. We gotta wait.
Paul, there are draft notes in there. Are the draft notes removed? They were helpful for intent, but are they going to be removed when and if it's passed?
Did I push mute?
Yeah.
The draft notes will not be in what is actually codified in the code. However, you are adopting those as part of this ordinance, and therefore they will continue to have some persuasive effect. You are adopting those as
Any more questions from council?
No, sir.
Any questions from the public or comments? None being heard. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 And I vote aye. Passes unanimously. So, back to the agenda here.
Okay. Ordinance number 2024-08, an ordinance of the town of Indialantic, Brevard County, Florida, relating to the Land Development Code, amending provisions relating to floodplain management, making findings, repealing section 103-37, Town Code of Ordinances relating to local amendments into the Building Code, created section 107-7, Town Code of Ordinances, writing for definitions, amending section 107-51, Town Code of Indialantic, relating to the study supporting the basis for establishment of flood hazard areas, revised in section 107-115 relating to structures exempt from the state building code, altering references from divisions within chapter 107 to the entire chapter, revising reference to code sections, and with regard to the state building code, revising section 107-371 relating to foundations of manufactured homes, providing a severability interpretation clause, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
I've explained a little about this. This is a requirement from the state, and they reviewed our flood plan, and they have some changes in their language, so we had to update our ordinances. So this is a cleanup based on the state.
I move to adopt ordinance 2024-08, floodplain management on first reading.
Second.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Strand, second by Councilmember Miller. Any comments? Public comments? None being heard. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Next, Mike.
Ordinance number 2024-09, an ordinance of the town of Indialantic, Brevard County, Florida, relating to the Town of Indialantic's comprehensive plan, making findings, adopting policy 7-2 of the comprehensive plan, a capital improvement schedule, amending section 113-23 Town of Indialantic Code of Ordinances relating to the adoption of the capital improvement schedule, providing for a severability interpretation clause, and providing for the effective date.
You want to give us a little background on that?
Yeah. Based upon the last several months of getting the CIP plan, this now has to be codified into an ordinance because we have to supply, updating our comprehensive plan. So it's the exact same plan you all approved last month. And it's just doing that so our planner, Jim LaRue, once this is passed, he will file our amended with the state.
And I believe you worked on this with Councilmember Wright?
Yes, very helpful.
Is there a motion?
I move to adopt ordinance 2024-09, comprehensive plan capital improvement on first reading.
A second?
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Strand, second by Councilmember Miller. Council comments?
I have one, Deputy Mayor, please. The interesting thing about all these, they've all been vetted through the Z&P, which is nice. The other two we did and this one. So I'm familiar because it was good to go there because I watched them ask really good questions because they live and breathe this even more than I do. And so just folks for posterity watching, they can know that this isn't just council looking at it here. It passed through the Z&P up to us with their blessing, and they review it against the comp plan. That's
Doug,
it. So it's more of just making sure we all know, and I remind myself in case I'm incorrect about that. So thank you.
Doug, you worked on it. Your thoughts?
I mean, obviously, I think the council had a chance to review it. Mike and I obviously had a good chance. Thank you for the inputs from all departments in terms of helping with that. I think it'll help the town moving forward as we lay out, getting Riverside paved. Looking forward to that. I know we all are. And then also repairing the roads and surfaces and drainage for the town going forward the next 5 years.
Brett, thoughts? Public, any comments? None being seen. All in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda is unfinished business, and that's zip line at Nance Park.
As you all know, we've had 2 accidents on it. One before it was open, an adult was on it and he got hurt. But there was an incident where we know that girls were playing on it and it broke the bolt and stuff. So we've disabled it right now. It's still up there, the ends of it, but the actual zip line's gone. It's a discussion, do we want to keep the zip line? Or do something else, so. I think Joe can put some stuff on this microphone.
I really think the zip line should not go back up, which is going to be another accident waiting to happen. Maybe you can put a basketball court, another volleyball court, or a beach tennis court.
We had discussed, is there not a similar zip line at the
Yeah.
Field of Dreams.
It's not
Field
even,
of Dreams?
it's not even close. They're apples and
I know
oranges.
it's all the way over the bridge, Joe, but let's not be snitty about it.
Yeah,
No, but in terms of the structural integrity of it. and the-
Correct.
And the make and model of it.
It's totally different. Ours is a cable, whereas theirs is a fixed. It's
So
like Orlando Park.
So it's like, I was gonna say, the Orlando Park with
Yeah.
the fixed slider, that's.
Yes, sir.
Very rigid, yeah. Got it. Okay.
And just to clarify that the children that were injured, they were being supervised by a parent?
They were being supervised by a parent.
Okay.
Yes, they were.
And Joe, your recommendation is?
Not to put it back up. It's a accident waiting to happen, whether they're on the platform, jumping onto the apparatus and falling back, hitting their head on the platform, that could happen. Just a moment, just one day it's going to happen.
Brett, this is kind of something you may have some thoughts on.
I mean, nothing's foolproof. Just the normal playground. accidents can happen, right? I would hate to see the whole structure be taken away, though. I mean, we spent good money on that.
Yeah.
Could it be repurposed for something? Like, do
Was-
you think it could be repurposed for anything, or?
I'm sure something can be designed,
Yeah,
maybe not for 85 feet of zip lining, but
yeah.
maybe we can come up with an idea.
Yeah, like one of those long, like, short rope balance, tension balance things. Sometimes they have, like little
Yeah.
stabilizers on either side.
Slacklining?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I would love to see the zip line, but I trust Joe's opinion. What are your all thoughts about it?
And if I may interject one more.
Yeah.
If we're not going to monitor and watch people what they're doing, that's where a lot of the problem, because people aren't using the apparatus correctly. And that's probably what started the bolt to fail. And then it just so happened these girls were on it at the time it did break.
Yeah,
So if you don't have an attendant from 7 a.m. to 1:30 in the morning, you're not doing any justice for safety. Even though you can do monthly checks, weekly checks, bi-weekly checks, I really think it's a bad idea for this town.
Yeah, this was in large part or in total paid for by the grant from the state?
Yes.
That particular one, was there any stipulations associated with that in terms
We
of
could have to
what,
pay back the $35,000 approximately.
if we remove it and don't
Yeah.
put something else back in?
Right. Now, if we left the outside structures there and Joe, see if maybe some alternatives, if you're gonna remove the zip line or move that way, he could maybe come back another month with some ideas, give him a month or two to research with other people, whether it's be like the rope line you said, or something else. Because the structures are still there,
Yeah, they're substantial.
yeah.
And I'd hate to remove them at the expense of $35,000 in terms of a town
Yeah.
expenditure.
I believe also the manufacturer of those, when Joe contacted them, said something about, oh, we have a fix for that. So I think they've had a problem before that too. Which, if they had a retrofit.
Yeah, I'm just more out of a point of curiosity, how did we end up with that specific piece of equipment versus a different configuration?
That was chosen by the playground committee.
Okay.
Ask our mayor.
No, that's fine, I just was
Yeah, they
curious.
chose that. I
Again,
think it was because Field of Dreams, I didn't realize because they look the same actually, until you look at the actual, because I told Joe the same thing, I was with my grandkids at Field of Dreams, same type of chairs and everything else and lines.
Yeah, no, but it's fixed.
But when he
it's a
pointed out,
solid structure.
one between Orlando Park and here, yeah.
Yeah, I know, I'm familiar with that one, yeah.
Is there any way to make it be a fixed structure like that?
I mean, we could check into it.
Absolutely, we can definitely check into that.
Yeah. Just because of the fact that the other like base structures are already there.
Yeah.
If at all possible and it's like economically reasonable, it would be nice to try to make it work. I would hate to take that, and because of the concern of having to pay back the monies.
Yeah.
So if we could look into that. I also think, we can put up like large warnings, things of that nature, to the best of our ability to provide, notice. But again, nothing's, foolproof, right? So at some point, you assume the risk of doing various tasks, right? I mean, just playing sports, you can get injured. So I think there's a balance to be had there that hopefully we can find a modification.
My feeling is I'd like to try to make it as kid-friendly as possible, because that was the original intent, and make it entertaining. Kids do enjoy the playground quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it's been a huge success. I mean,
Yeah,
was
it's a
it
great project.
4 years ago when we ripped out the old, and it's come, it's night and day from where it was. So I think it's an opportunity to continue to move forward, just we need to be thoughtful about it. I'm generally in favor of let's build a list of things we could do, one of which could be, although we don't recommend it, would be put a zip line back in the state, don't recommend that. Put a fixed structure zip line in, it would be, X, if it works, it'd be this amount of money out of pocket, or wouldn't, I don't know. And then Other options would be, you know, removal and installation of a different, but that entails, you know, a $35,000 payback plus whatever expenditures to put the new, either new grass or additional equipment in. I would just like to see some options.
Yeah.
And the recommendation consistent with what Public Works Director believes is.
How about a suggestion that instructing us right now not to reinstall the current zip line itself and have Joe and work with me to research other possible options out there?
Okay. I have a motion to do exactly that.
I'd like some discussion time when you're ready.
Oh, go ahead.
Because I have a slightly different take, and I want to ask a question too. Joe, is the signage around the zip line any different than any other town policy that we'd have, giving fair warning and understanding proper usage? Was there an inadequacy of signage?
Just the signs that was provided by Play by Design, that's for 5 to 12-year-olds. I see adults on it. By the time I get in there to tell them to get off of it, they're already gone. So no, as to your question, there is no additional signage to say how to use it correctly.
But there was adequate signage. The town approves to put this in, right? You can't pass the buck simply. I mean, it must meet town standards when you did your inspection and saying that, for instance, the signage around another item might be similar to a different one, right? You have signage that talks
Correct.
about appropriate use.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we've got the signage, and I understand you're concerned about the behavior side of it, but what makes this equipment, the zip line, more dangerous than any other piece of equipment someone could use properly or improperly? Help me understand.
I think it's because it's a moving part and it rusts with the weather out there, and on the Indialantic, it's very salt tolerant here. High salt tolerant, not salt tolerant, but high salt content, and it's just not, to me, it just doesn't make any sense to have an 85-foot zip line.
So
even though it's only 10 feet off the ground, it's still a potential breaking an arm.
So we had a citizen who is an expert in this area. He's not weighing in because he's a citizen. And I thought about it this way. We could move all the way to repurposing it, but we could also look at, there are real three things that are the issues here. We have, is it a proper design, right, for a zip line? We're unsure of that. We could have someone design it properly. That was one of the recommendations of the type of design was pointed out as being inadequate. I think the manufacturer is not as qualified as someone who we could have look and design it better. Inspection, to your point, needs to happen consistently, right? Because it is something that has parts that can be, anything needs to be maintained. This probably has a higher maintenance cycle than some other things. I grant you that, Joe. I hear you that. But we certainly could be maintaining it properly, and we could have it inspected on a cycle by someone who knows, and not put someone who is Joe in that position, right? You could have an expert come out and look at it and say, hey, you know, I inspect these things, this is what we've got, this is your maintenance cycle, and we could reevaluate proper signage, to Councilman Miller's. So we do have an option of designing it correctly, inspecting, maintain, and put proper signage and see how it works versus just moving to a different use. I'm trying to give that we do have a path to that if we wanted to do so. It is a fun type of device, and we can't afford to put a full-time attendant, whether it's for the merry-go-round that could be done, right? We have other things that are metal with moving parts that you hear little cries now and then around them because they're doing certain things, including adults. And Joe's point is heard, but it's interesting to me that we're not looking at some of the other options that seem to be to properly use and maintain that zip line. It's sort of like it's broken, we aren't going any further with it. Can I understand, is there any interest in that or consensus in evaluating that? If not, I just want to know why it's sort of off the table.
I don't think it is off the table, but I think that's part of what Mike is recommending. Let he and Joe come back with some recommendations, and that's one to consider.
Oh, good, so you're open to the existing use with proper design, proper maintenance on actually using it as a zip line and alternative sources. And I'm okay with exploring that as well.
It may not be the best solution, but we want to make sure safety is number one. We don't you definitely don't want any children hurt or injured. And there's also, of course, the liability issue, but the child safety, I think, is the highest.
But we have other devices that could equally get hurt on. The speed and the other things, right? The choice of misuse is an act of irresponsibility, right? And then the consequence is someone acts irresponsibly and decides that we're still at fault for their, and can make the case, and I get that. But the argument you're making, I'm trying to understand in my mind, Stu, how other devices, right? Because going up to, the level of one of those houses, jumping out, even though we have mulch and other things, could have a significant liability. What's the difference in the risk between one and the other? Because your argument covers almost every item that we provide as a town as safely as possible that could be misused. What differentiates them?
I think it's just the fact that it's a moving item, subject to corrosion and salt. Let's see if we can go, I think no option is off the table, let me put it that way.
Okay,
would
I'm
just-
open to other options as long
would
as
just
it
like
stays
to-
back on the table.
Here's some options, and then we can get Parks and Rec or anybody else to weigh in on it.
How about we reach out to whoever would do this type of structural, and some type of engineer. I don't know if the resident could point me to somebody, help us out, point us to somebody, what type of, and we see what they recommend on it, if this is a device that needs to go away, or if it's just modification, something like that, and then explore if that's not an option, other options.
I'd love a fair shake, right? I hear Joe's strong opinion, and I respect that there's a differing opinion, and that's good. Give it a fair shake, and if they look at it and really say, look, this is really a problem, and it's going to cost a ton of money, whatever number they put out, and it really is not going to work, I'm open to that. Because Stu's point is salient. We're all going to talk about safety. But if they say, look, a reasonable design can be done, and here's sort of the cost, and you're nodding your head a little, the issue will be still addressing behavioral, and I get it. It's a moving thing that adults are going to look probably as much fun as the kids, and they're just not supposed to be on it. So if it's out of range, Mike, I'm okay with that. I just like a fair shake looking at it, that's all.
And we can't control all the time how somebody uses it. I can tell you we were sued in Orlando Park because an 18-year-old kid was on a kiddie swing and got hurt,
That's the example I was going to use. I mean, how is this any more dangerous than swings, right? People, do backflips off those and things of that nature, right? So
Or
I'm sure you're.
they climb a tree in a park and they fall and break their arm.
Right.
Well, I think I mean, and you can agree or disagree, Joe, but reading between the lines, I think the fact is that there was fatigue and the equipment broke.
Sure.
That's the key differentiator. The swing didn't break.
Right.
It was the person that fell off of it, they used it improperly. Nothing broke on the equipment, they just used it improperly. The girls that got injured were using it properly. Don't know for a fact, but it sounds like they were, or at least were within the guidelines. And the equipment broke because of the cumulative effect of the damage from improper use. So I think that's the differentiation between when we're talking about swing sets and other equipment. The concern is with the zip line, and I'm not saying we can't fix it. I just wrote down, I think we have a list of options, one of which is keep it, but improve it, fix it, air quotes, implement a different version of it, a solid beam, or remove it and replace it with something else. So I think those are your three broad categories, but I think the primary concern, what I'm hearing from Joe, is if it's a piece of equipment that we feel that we're going to be liable to have to inspect on a regular basis, and we don't have confidence that it's going to last 5 years, or some period of performance, and stand up to the rigors, not of nature, but also human nature, of the 300-pound, adult jumping on it, running and jumping on it multiple times over 5 years, then that's the concerns that we're going to have a repeat of that incident. And there's a level of confidence, and once bitten, twice shot. So.
I'd like to offer one other suggestion. The Department of Agriculture inspects amusement rides. Can we contact them and see if they have any advice or any guidance?
We can find out.
Who was it again? I'm sorry.
Department of Agriculture.
Department of Agriculture, they have broad, I think they're the largest agency in the state of Florida, but.
Yeah. They do investigate, like when a young man got over in Orlando with fell out. they investigate that stuff, or carnival rides and stuff they have to have.
Could we seek their advice? If they have any?
We can reach out and see.
Yeah. Okay.
Sir.
Well, I'm going to follow up on what Doug said. Was there a recommended maintenance cycle from the manufacturer when we installed it that was given to the town to perform, that we were qualified to perform?
No, it just said that to inspect as needed. It was very vague on the inspection, but I was checking every 3 months.
Gotcha. So, yep, you're checking it so that the issue to me, it wasn't, something happened, but the root cause was there was no regular maintenance cycle prescribed by an expert to when you maintain it. Now, yes, it could be expensive. Again, you may come back and say, we can design it well, but it's expensive in terms of maintenance. I'm open to being cost conscious. So that may take it off the table. But with regular maintenance, I would argue back that if it had been maintained properly, would the same thing have happened, right? I can't see through the crystal ball, but just like my car, if I drive it around a long time and don't change the oil or follow any of what it does, I'll get exactly what the experts told me.
You got to let it down with 1,000 pound of bricks in the back and then go into the barricade at the boardwalk, and then that's the equivalent of what they were doing.
So if we truly feel it's too dangerous and too tempting,
I'm being,
but then I get it, I'm open to it. But I'm just pointing, I'm not trying to make this the option, but anything we should have a proper maintenance cycle that we're confident in, because to Brett's point, you either ignore risk, you assume risk, or you transfer risk. Those are the only three things. We can't transfer it because it's something that we've endorsed and put in. We don't want to ignore it because we're good stewards of things. But we want to get that, whatever the maintenance cycle. And I'm very open to the maintenance cycle being I don't know what it would be, Joe. I sort of want to know so we can take the options on or off the table for good reason.
I do want to clarify something really quick, though. I don't believe that this was a result of maintenance. It's a design defect. This is on the manufacturer or the company that installed it. It was a design defect because they already had knowledge of this and, proposed solution really quick. So, so this wasn't a maintenance. No, I agree. We need to pay attention to the maintenance, but design is what caused this, not maintenance. So it's not on us, it's on them.
I'm not an expert in this field like the person who brought it up, and he suggested both. So I'm deferring to someone who does this for a living but isn't going to be hired to do this. So again, I don't know. You design.
No, yeah.
I get it.
So, but the point being is that we should consult, another company or someone in this industry about other designs or a fix to the design. Still implement a comprehensive maintenance schedule, but it's designed for this issue.
And Joe, was this a bolt failure, as I understand?
Yes, sir. And the bolt is only a 5/8 bolt. I don't know why they just didn't use a 3/4 inch stainless steel bolt.
I was going to say, is it metallurgy is a fascinating field of which none of us are qualified. So I don't know how you inspect, not being qualified, a metallurgical device. Again, I'd like to see if we can get some advice from the Department of Agriculture. They routinely do inspect. Do we need to take any action this time?
I think
Or
we
just come back to us with the
come back with some information.
recommendations?
And Councilman Strand, if, I don't know if you could reach out to the resident or want me to reach out to the resident.
I'm happy to support in any way, including pounding the pavement for finding the type of options that you think are reasonable to contact to give a good answer. So call on me as needed.
I'll interject. I can, let me get with you and Joe on Friday afternoon if you're available. Along with said resident, there is another resident on the north side of town who I work with professionally who's has significant background in this field. Not that we're going to use them to employ, but they can give us advice as needed, although I don't think we'll do that just yet. I would like to get, just kind of straw man out some of the things we would be looking for in this plan forward so that we can come back in a month's time with kind of either recommendation or a list of options for the council to consider.
So I heard Doug just say he's a better option. I agree.
Public, any comments? So, Mike, would you come back to us at a future
Yeah.
meeting with some thoughts?
Get some options.
Yeah, some options. Okay, there is no new business, so reports. I'm not sure how to ask Paul for reports, so give him a couple seconds to hear it, and then we'll get his report, because I know he does have one.
Hey, Paul, you have any reports? You're just going across now.
Form 6.
Yeah, Form 6.
I'd just like to advise the council, I think, as you all are aware now, because I sent you out an email, that the Federal District Court in Fort Lauderdale has issued a preliminary injunction against the enforcement of Senate Bill 774, which is the legislation that requires cities to, city officials to file Form 6 financial disclosures. I think this is a bigger victory than you might suspect. One of the standards for issuing a preliminary injunction is that the court has to find that there is a substantial likelihood of success at the end of the litigation. And they did make that finding as part of the issuance of the preliminary injunction. So that is obviously an indicator of what's on the horizon, at least with this judge. And the Commission on Ethics has already issued a notice, and what they are now saying is, since Senate Bill 774 is preliminarily enjoined from being enforced, that city council members and city managers are not required to file Form 6 by July 1st. They can file Form 1, as has been the case in the past. So more to follow.
Okay, Mike.
Just give you an update.
Do you mute Paul?
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Thank you.
Give you a quick update on South Riverside Drive. Our town engineer and Joe will both reach out to the paving company that was already approved, and we're just waiting for them to schedule. He's hoping by maybe the end of the month to the middle of next month, but we haven't got the final schedule yet. They're doing some other work first, and he said he'd do us after they finished working in Harbor Beach. So.
Brett, any report?
Just want to thank Paul's firm for all their hard work and expertise in reaching the right result in the Form 6 litigation. I was getting very antsy because I was like, the deadline's coming.
Lauren.
Chief, thank you so much for presenting. Hearing those types of care and stewardship and getting it to bring it not only before the council, but really before the town is just, it's amazing. I mean, the pride in just knowing that we're the support mechanism to you all, and you all make that happen. I mean, I really want to give a standing ovation, so thank you for both updating, and certainly thank you to all the officers, all the staff, right? And it's not just your department, other departments, but I really appreciate it. And hearing those stories come forth, I think are very, very important, because what you are reminding us is the fabric that makes Indialantic so special. So I greatly appreciate it tonight. That was inspiring. Welcome back to Molly Carr. She's sort of back in the saddle, which is great, and we appreciate her great. And on those same lines, thank you so much to Victoria and staff for pinch hitting. They did a great job, and I know only a fraction of the amount of effort that the staff does, but I get those glimpses in as a council member, and I just really appreciate it, because I know when key people, and we try to run lean, and we have a smaller staff, it takes a lot of effort when that happens. And I just want to express appreciation and gratitude when I see that, knowing I know a fraction of the effort. And the other thing I want to mention, again brought up tonight, and I should have said it during the CIP discussion, I really thank you, Doug, and you, Mike, for raising the bar of excellence in terms of being clear, and it was closer to SMART goals, which really helps for accountability and transparency. We're spending money, we're accruing money. These are real questions get raised. And I'm glad you were flexible because Doug digs in, and that's one of his superpowers, but it really helped me for my decision-making because I really understood not just what we're spending on, but what you're supposed to get at the end. And I know it takes time to get that level of detail in, but it was so fun tonight to see it go all the way through the process that was not only mandated, but it was really good because I felt good about it, because I did look at other CIP plans from other towns to understand the standards, and I think ours will really match up. In fact, in certain ways, it may be even better. And I really, again, am grateful when people step up to set that standard of excellence and meet it, because the end result is pride you all can feel, and the benefit is for our town and residents. So thank you.
Doug? How many years for the landscaping in the center? Meeting? So we're approved, right? We're approved?
We're approved, we're out, okay, I'm gonna go into my
So
report.
FDOT is fully approved, our
It's
permit.
fully approved, we don't have a notice to proceed for the construction yet, but we had a notice to proceed for advertising, and we've already had a pre-bid meeting with the contractors, and next Thursday, they have to be turned in, I think by noon, and we have a bid opening at 4.
So how many years is that?
Since 2018 when it started.
All right, so that's been a long time coming. So
Yes.
we all look forward to it.
The F words, 4-letter F words, we don't say FDOT, FEMA.
So appreciate your heart again, this starting on that. So appreciate your persistence and your flexibility to redo and resubmit countless times all the forms. But I know we all look forward to seeing the end result of that. And with that, I will turn it over to Stu.
Good. My only item is, I did fill out Form 1 electronically, as required. I did this afternoon to see how involved it is. You could tell I was hurried by the Department of Ethics, or Commission on Ethics. It doesn't exactly address municipal officials, especially the last page where you attest that you've taken the ethics class. Did have to make 2 phone calls to them to say, how do I do this? So it's not as obvious as they may have made it sound. But it's not a big deal either. Mine's fairly complicated, and it was pretty quick. And Paul, thank you so much for in your firm. So that's it.
Okay.
Anything else? We were adjourned. Thank you very much.
Good night.